They're going to. I don't know when they're going to open that.
Yeah, I saw something coming up.
It's coming up.
Have you had to go up in our hospital up to that little room where you do the chemo?
In the new?
Hospital, at Health.
No.
It's building a whole new facility outside.
Yeah.
From the same company, and they really need to do that.
Well, good morning, everyone. It's 9 o'clock. Call to order our Flagler County Board of County Commissioners. This is a regular meeting. It's October 2nd, 2023 at 9 o'clock. I would ask you all to please rise and join me with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Now, as we always do, I'd like to have you observe a moment of silence and think about our first responders, our firemen, our sheriff's deputies, our EMTs, our men and women in uniform serving around the world. And be thankful that we're here in Florida. A moment of silence, please. Thank you. We don't have any additions or deletions today. I do have a couple of announcements. The first, the 18th Annual Creekside Festival will be next weekend, Saturday the 7th and Sunday the 8th of October. Adult admission is $10. Kids under 10 are free, and parking is free. On our boards and council vacancies, we have one vacancy on the River to Sea TPO Citizens Advisory Committee. If you're interested, please go to flaglercounty.gov and apply for that position. A couple meetings coming up. We have a special meeting and executive session on Monday, October 9th at 9 a.m. We have a legislative delegation meeting and public forum on Friday, October 13th at 3 p.m. And our next regular meeting is October 16th at 5 a.m. We have 5 proclamations to read this morning. The first one is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and Commissioner Sullivan is going to read that.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have who's ever going to be here before that can start moving forward. Proclamation of the Flagler County Board of County Commissioners recognizing October 2023 as Breast Cancer Awareness Month in Flagler County. Whereas breast cancer is the most frequently diagnosed cancer in women. In 2023, an estimated 297,790 cases of invasive breast cancer are expected in women in the United States, along with 55,720 new cases of non-invasive breast cancer. Also, about 2,800 new cases of invasive breast cancer are expected to be diagnosed in men. And whereas only 1 in 8 women diagnosed with breast cancer have a family history, and 85% have no family history, with an increase in incidence rates since 1990 being predominantly in women aged 50 or older. And whereas early detection and timely screening, mammograms, have helped to boost the number of breast cancer survivors to more than 3.8 million in the United States, also resulting in a 40% decline in mortalities since 1989. And whereas Pajama Sai, MD, medical oncologist with the Florida Cancer Specialists and Research Institute, has been a dedicated, compassionate, and decorated soldier of Advent Health's Pink Army, as she has tirelessly treated and cared for thousands of breast cancer patients in the city of Palm Coast for 17 years with innovative therapies such as immunotherapy and access to groundbreaking clinical trials. And whereas Advent Health, Palm Coast Foundation's Pink Army, with the support of our community, has raised and distributed over $150,000, helped hundreds of patients, and funded over 1,000 procedures in direct support of Flagler County women and men dealing with breast cancer. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the Flagler County Board of County Commissioners that they hereby proclaim October 2023 as Breast Cancer Awareness Month in Flagler County. Further, they encourage all citizens to join our breast cancer awareness campaign by encouraging all women to receive breast cancer screenings, actively educate others concerning the importance of early screening, and raise the pink flag against breast cancer. Accepted the second day of October 2023, attested Tom Bexley, Clerk of Court, and signed by our Chair, Gregory Hansen. Thank you very much, and here's your proclamation.
Tony, would you like to say a few words?
No. Thank you, David. Thank you, Flagler County Commission. My name is Tony Papandrea. I'm the chairman of Advent Health Foundation. On behalf of Advent Health Hospital and the foundation, we thank you for this proclamation. Here it is, October, and we're pink again. Amazing. What a great proclamation. It gives all these big numbers. There's 3 numbers in there that struck me and strike me every time. When you said that we gave thousands of procedures and helped hundreds of women, the actual number is 597 women. That means on that day of their life, they were sitting there waiting for that result from whatever screening diagnostic they had. It's a terrible day, and we're happy to be able to do that for them and then bring them along. The second one is 10 years ago, you could not have said 40% survival rate. And that's how far we've come. So the secret is early detection. Go get your mammograms. So we're going to have Gil come up, and you also sum up something about men. Gil is a breast cancer survivor. So Gil, come up, say a few words.
The only words I really could say is kind of like the COPS motto, see something, say something. For me, for guys, find something, say something. Most of us, especially guys, our egos get involved. We don't want to go to the doctor. It'll be fine, it'll be fine, it'll be fine. Luckily, I was pretty preemptive. I found something within a month. I made a scheduled appointment, and lo and behold, sure enough, it was breast cancer. So if you find anything, constantly checking yourself, go say something. Go find the doctor, go to the doctors. That's the biggest thing that I could say. Don't let it go. Because most of the time for guys, on most of the cancers we do get, it usually does not have a good outcome because we've waited so long to go to the doctors. So find something, say something. Go get something checked out. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gil. Next, we have a treat. I call them my double Ds. I'd like to bring up Danielle and Denise, 2 of our volunteers. They're going to tell you why they're here.
Hi, everybody. We are here just to really support Advent Health and breast cancer awareness. We live here, we work here, and we're just excited to be a part. It's this Sunday, and we just want to encourage everybody to sign up because all of the funds actually go right back and stay in our community. So thank you. And there's a pet walk, so don't forget, pet walk is super fun too. Thank you.
Thank you, ladies. Yes, Sunday is our 5K walk. We're expecting 1,000 people. So y'all come out and enjoy with us. Next, we'd like to have Pettigo say a word. They are donating a $2,000 bike, and we appreciate it.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Michelle, and this is Gary, and we are the new owners of Pettigo Palm Coast. We are just approaching our 1-year mark here in the city. And this cause is particularly important to me. My former career was a breast sonographer. Back when sonography did not even exist, we just had early mammography. I was part of developing how to use ultrasound in conjunction with mammography. I worked with renowned physicians in Boston, and we developed the textbooks basically for this. So when I stepped out of that hat and into this hat, I thought, gee, we have pink bikes. Lord, I can't believe you brought us pink bikes. So let's just pass it on and give back to what is really in my heart and soul. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all. And Suzanne, you didn't get away sitting there. like to thank Suzanne and all of.
Question for Tony.
Sure.
When you
Yeah.
finish the,
No, I'm just going to thank Suzanne. She gets lots of thanks, and I appreciate the help you and your staff and everyone supports our Pink Army. Thank you.
I just wanted to ask, myself, I'm not myself, but my wife and two sisters died of essentially cancer and went up to Dr. Tsai's office there on the second floor, been through the door many times. Isn't there a new facility being finished up here?
Yes, funny you should ask. Yes, we announced a month ago that Advent Health is building a new 38,000 square foot, $30 million freestanding cancer center out in front of the hospital on 100. That is a major, major thing for our community. We just opened a new hospital, an extra 100 beds, and now we're going to build a freestanding cancer center. I'm going to put my foundation hat on. We are looking to raise $1.4 million to help. So everyone can write a check, and we'll be done with all of that and proceed. But yes, thank you, David. That is a major step for Flagler County, a freestanding cancer center, which means folks like Gil don't have to go travel anywhere to get done what you need. You come here, you get your treatments, you go home. 15 minutes, and believe me, I've been through it. It's a lifesaver. So thank you, David. Appreciate it. And thank you all. Anyone else? We're good. Picture?
One more thing.
Yes, sir.
Of your 590-some this year,
Yes,
my wife was one of them.
yes.
She's now a breast cancer survivor.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Greg and I go back a long way. He, 69?
69.
69. Graduated from the Naval Academy. Awesome. I was
Come on up for a
61.
picture.
All right, Tony, keep it going. Good job. Right on.
Our next proclamation is National Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and I've asked Mr. Dance to read that one.
Absolutely. Candy, Donna, did you guys want to come up? This is a proclamation of the Flagler County Board of County Commissioners recognizing the month of October 2023 as National Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Whereas home should be a place of warmth, unconditional love, tranquility, and security, and for most of us, home and family can indeed be counted among our greatest blessings. Tragically, for many Americans, their home is tarnished by violence and fear. And whereas family violence is a crime that transcends race, religion, ethnicity, and economic stature, with one of its greatest tragedies being its effect on our children. And whereas an estimated 4.8 million cases of domestic violence occur each year tragically, killing an average of 3 women every day nationally. And whereas the Family Life Center, the only certified domestic violence emergency shelter and rape crisis center in Flagler County, provided over 6,700 hours of service to victims in the past year. And whereas each October, the formal recognition of Domestic Violence Awareness Month allows the community to acknowledge and show their support for the victims of this horrific crime. And whereas the Flagler County Advocates Alliance, comprised of the Flagler County Sheriff's Office Victim Advocate, the Flagler Beach Police Department Victim Advocates, the State Attorney's Victim Advocate for the 7th Judicial Circuit Flagler, and the Family Life Center, and the Flagler County Domestic Violence Task Force membership are committed to confront this crisis and are working together to increase public understanding of this problem and mobilize community efforts to end domestic violence in Flagler County. Now therefore be it proclaimed by the Flagler County Board of County Commissioners that they hereby declare the month of October 2023 as National Domestic Violence Awareness Month in Flagler County, and urge all citizens of Flagler County to become a part of the community response to end domestic violence and to send the message that this crime will not be tolerated in our community. As we spread awareness of domestic violence in our community during the month of October, we recognize that it takes an entire community to stand together and make a difference. Together we can break the cycle and impact the lives of future generations. Adopted this second day of October 2023, signed by Tom Bexley, Clerk of the Court, and our Chair, Gregory Hansen.
Thank you for that. Good morning. My name is Shanice Carr. I'm the Director of Operations for Family Life Center. Here alongside with me, I have the Sheriff's Office, Flagler County Beach Police Department, as well as some Family Life Center advocates, and Trish and Candy, our CEO and program supervisor. Having conversations around domestic violence is a very difficult thing to do. And I'm sure that as you hear those numbers, you realize how prevalent it is in our community and within our states. Everyone here alongside of me are very blessed and grateful to be just even a small beacon of hope in our community to make an impact for change. Last week, a community member came into our organization to make a donation. And when I thanked her, she thanked us. And she said, "Thank you for being here and supporting survivors in our community. And as long as you all keep showing up, I'll keep showing up here to do my part." For me, this reminded me that it takes a village to do this work. And we are so grateful to be a part of this community and many like her who are always supportive and provide the education and awareness throughout the community, even in forums like this. Today, we're going to start lighting up Flagler County in purple, so we're asking for those who even want to stand in solidarity also do that with us. So it could be putting a purple bulb in your lamp, it could be putting one outside of your house. Michelle actually here, she's going to hand all that are interested a purple ribbon. So even if you want to wear a purple ribbon this month, just to show that you also support along with us, this community is great, and it has always been great to us, and we're forever grateful and thankful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair? Yes. Thank you. Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
may I just say something?
Yes, go ahead.
I just want to take a second and recognize
you,
Trish
Michelle.
and her leadership. If I remember, I've been in this community a long time. If I remember, this organization was in a little bit of turmoil, I think maybe when Trish came into leadership. And I read recently about the dysfunction and challenges that Volusia County is having, and it reminded me about that. And so I just wanted to recognize her for her longevity, her leadership, and management of the Family Life Center for many years, and the continuity, and just tell her how much I appreciate that. So.
Thank you, Don. Y'all want to do a picture? Yeah, we're right up here, right up here.
And also might I add that this weekend for Creekside, the Family Life Center is the beneficiary of funds raised by Creekside. So hopefully everything dries out and we'll have a great event. Go to Creekside.
Mr. Sullivan?
I want to make sure that we vote on the proclamation for the Breast Cancer Awareness Month. If I have a second, make the motion.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the Breast Cancer Awareness Month. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Hearing none, the motion passes unanimously. Andy?
And also would like to make a motion to approve the domestic violence proclamation.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve National Domestic Violence Awareness Month proclamation. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Hearing none, the motion passes unanimously. Commissioner Leanne, National 4-H Week.
It's a proclamation of the Flagler County Board of County Commissioners recognizing the week of October 1st through the 7th, 2023, as National 4-H Week. Whereas 4-H is America's largest youth development organization, having supported almost 6 million youth across the country thus far. And whereas 4-H has helped more than 230,000 youth in Florida to become confident, independent, resilient, and compassionate leaders. And whereas during the 2022-2023 4-H year, the program impacted over 2,000 youth in Flagler County with the help of more than 80 volunteers throughout 4-H clubs and school enrichment programs. And whereas 4-H is delivered by Cooperative Extension, a community of more than 100 public universities across the nation that provide experiences where young people learn by doing hands-on projects in areas including health, science, agriculture, and citizenship. And whereas National 4-H Week showcases the incredible experiences that 4-H offers young people and highlights the remarkable 4-H youth in Flagler County who work each day to make a positive impact on those around them. And whereas 4-H network of 600,000 volunteers and 3,500 professionals provide caring and supportive mentoring to all 4-Hers, helping them to grow into true leaders, entrepreneurs, and visionaries. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the Flagler County Board of County Commissioners that we hereby proclaim the week of October 1st through 7th, 2023 as National 4-H Week in Flagler County, and we encourage all of our citizens to recognize 4-H for the significant impact it's made and continues to make by empowering our youth with skills they need for a lifetime. That's adopted this day, October 2nd, attested by Tom Bexley, our clerk, and our Gregory Hansen, our chair. Melanie.
Thank you.
Awesome, thank you. Bailey Scarborough, I'm the 4-H Youth Development Agent here in Flagler County. Thank you guys for recognizing National 4-H Week. Those of you know 4-H as the agriculture youth program in the county, but as Commissioner Pennington said in the proclamation, it actually goes far beyond that with health, science, and citizenship programs. So we go far beyond the west side of the county now. In fact, even when I started here 2 years ago in 2021, we have more than doubled in size since I've been here. So we now have a lot more to offer than just agriculture programs, which I am very, very proud of. And I don't have a group of kids here with me today. Of course, it's 9 a.m. on a Monday, so that's a part of the reason most of them are in school. But I encourage you guys to come to anything that you're invited to out into the community, and same with the public. Just really see what our kids are doing and what they're learning out there in the community.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Would you like a picture?
Yes.
Come on up here. Come on up onto the dais. Go ahead. Go ahead, come around. On over here. Oh, you did.
Gentlemen, I'd like to make a motion to approve item 4B for National 4-H Week.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve National 4-H Week proclamation. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Hearing none, the motion passes unanimously. Next up is Cybersecurity Awareness Month. Commissioner O'Brien.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is a proclamation of the Flagler County Board of County Commissioners designating the month of October 2023 as Cybersecurity Awareness Month in Flagler County. Whereas Flagler County Board of County Commissioners recognizes that it plays a vital role in identifying, protecting, and responding to cybersecurity threats which may have significant impact to the confidentiality, integrity, and availability of the systems and information which affect our individual and collective safety and privacy. And whereas critical infrastructure, i.e. financial services, educational institutions, energy, telecommunications, transportation, utilities, healthcare, and emergency response systems, to name a few, are increasingly reliant on the support of information systems and technology. And whereas cybersecurity education and awareness is crucial for everyone, including large corporations, small businesses, financial institutions, schools, government agencies, the home user, and anyone who connects to the internet, be it with a simple computer, a mobile phone, or other Internet of Things or Internet of Everything device. And whereas the Stop, Think, Connect campaign serves as the National Cybersecurity Public Awareness Campaign implemented through a coalition of private companies, nonprofits, government organizations, and academic institutions working together to increase the public's understanding of cyber threats and empowering Americans to be safer and more secure online. And whereas the maintenance of the security of cyberspace is a shared responsibility in which each of us has a critical role to play, and awareness of essential cyber hygiene will improve the security of Flagler County's information systems, infrastructure, and economy. And whereas the federal government of the United States of America, the U.S. Department of Homeland Security's Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, the Multi-State Information Sharing and Analysis Center, and the National Cybersecurity Alliance all recognize October as Cybersecurity Awareness Month. And all citizens are encouraged to visit their respective websites along with the Stop, Think, Connect campaign website, www.stopthinkconnect.org, to learn about cybersecurity and put that knowledge into practice in their homes, schools, workplaces, and businesses. Now therefore be it proclaimed by the Flagler County Board of County Commissioners that they hereby proclaim October 2023 as Cybersecurity Awareness Month in Flagler County and encourage all residents to observe the month with appropriate activities. Adopted this second day of October 2023, attested by Tom Bexley, Clerk of the Court, and signed by our Chair, Mr. Gregory Hansen.
Thank you, Don. Matt?
Thank you for that, Matt Rivera, County CIO. First, I wanted to just acknowledge this team that I have behind me. What a phenomenal team we have within the Innovation Technology Department. What you see here are just some of the men and women who are working literally 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to ensure our systems remain secure. Cybersecurity is a 24-hour a day, 365-day a year need. And why is that? That's because threat actors are always working everywhere around the world. They sit there and think of new ways to penetrate and get into organization systems. So it's important to have a great staff like this, on our side to do that work and to fill that gap. Now we know attacks can come in many different forms. There's all sorts of different types of attacks out there: phishing attacks, cross-site scripting, social engineering, ransomware. Now, ransomware is being probably one of the most well-known. We see it the most in the news. And I just wanted to go over a few statistics about ransomware. One, it's the most prevalent worldwide, that we see in the news. And from a worldwide perspective, ransomware attacks jumped from 2017. There was just over 183 million attacks worldwide. To 2021, it peaked at 623 million attacks. Now, according to FinCEN, which is the U.S. Treasury Department's Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, in 2021 saw a $1.2 billion in Bank Secrecy Act filings for ransomware-related incidents, and that was up from 416 million just the year prior. That was a massive jump from 2020 to 2021. And IBM reported in their cost of data breach report of 2022, they revealed that ransomware payments are an average of just over $812,000 per ransom. But that only accounts for the actual payment that was paid. It actually costs organizations on average $4.5 million to recover from a successful ransomware attack. Now that's because it takes a long time to recover your systems, on average 49 days more to recover from a ransomware attack than any other attack on a system. So why is this important? Well, it comes down to the end user. We can spend millions of dollars on protections and policies and different items to secure our systems, but the awareness for the end user, in my opinion, is worth more than those millions of dollars, because all it takes is one person clicking on one link to get by all of our efforts that we put into place. So awareness is huge. So we greatly appreciate the proclamation and the dedication to cybersecurity.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
Commissioners, anything else?
We have a big team, and it's good.
How about a picture?
Absolutely.
Get them all up here. You're looking good, Carrie. Use my personal ID first. And I need it. Right. Thank you, Matt.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, I move adoption of the proclamation.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the Cybersecurity Awareness Month proclamation. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, say nay. Hearing none, the motion passes. Next up is Fire Prevention Week. Proclamation of Flagler County Board of County Commissioners recognizing October 7th through 13th, 2023 as Fire Prevention Week in Flagler County. Whereas Flagler County is committed to ensuring the safety and security of all those living in and visiting our county. And whereas fire is a serious public safety concern both locally and nationally, and homes are the locations where people are at greatest risk of fire. And whereas home fires caused 2,800 civilian deaths in the United States in 2021, according to the National Fire Protection Association, and fire departments in the United States responded to 338,000 home fires. And whereas cooking is the leading cause of home fires in the United States, and fire departments responded to more than 166,400 annually between 2016 and 2020. And whereas 2 of every 5 home fires start in the kitchen, with 31% of these fires resulting from unintended cooking. Whereas more than half of reported non-fatal home cooking fire injuries occurred when the victims tried to fight the fire themselves. And whereas children under 5 face a higher risk of non-fire burns associated with cooking than being burned in a cooking fire. And whereas residents who have planned and practiced a home fire escape plan are more prepared and will therefore be more likely to survive a fire. And whereas Flagler County's first responders are dedicated to reducing the occurrence of home fires and home fire injuries through prevention and protection education. And whereas residents are responsible to public education measures and are better able to take personal steps to increase their safety from fire, especially in their homes. And whereas the 2023 Fire Prevention Week theme, Cooking Safety Starts With You, Pay Attention to Fire Prevention, effectively serves to remind Flagler residents it is important to stay alert and use caution when cooking to reduce the risk of kitchen fires. Now therefore be it proclaimed by the Flagler County Board of County Commissioners that they hereby proclaim the week of October 7th through 13th, 2023 as Fire Prevention Week in Flagler County, and urge everyone to understand that cooking safety starts with you. Pay attention to fire prevention for Fire Prevention Week 2023 and to support the many public safety activities and efforts of fire and emergency services. Adopted this second day of October 2023, attested by Tom Bexley, Clerk of the Circuit Court and Comptroller, and signed by the Chair of the County Commission, me. Chief.
Good morning, Chairman and members of the Commission. Obviously, we certainly appreciate, the Commission taking the opportunity, to recognize Fire Prevention Week 2023 and to approve this proclamation. one of the things we know in the fire service, and we consistently tell people, is that if something is predictable, it's preventable. And as you indicated, 40% of the fires in homes revolve around the kitchen. So that is an area that, that it is preventable. So we want to take this opportunity to encourage people just to pay attention when you're in the kitchen, to try to make sure that they stay safe as much as possible. But one other point that you mentioned in the proclamation was the injuries that occur when people try to fight these fires themselves. And while that's admirable to try to fight the fire, we encourage people when something happens to call 911. Call us early, because when we get there early, we can do a lot more. And we would rather you call us and not need us than need us and not call us. So this is just an opportunity for us to tell people to pay attention and to keep themselves safe. So thank you for the proclamation.
Thank you. Thank you all for what you do. Can you all come up here and we get a picture of everybody?
Absolutely.
I'm going to need a copy of that so I can order more takeout. This is a good example to show my husband.
Unintended cooking. I was trying to figure out a way to word another word into that.
You got anybody left in the field?
Like leaving your pan on.
Yeah, who's on watch? It's a big crew. Scrunch in. Pretend like you like each other.
All right, here we go. And 3.
Thank you all. All right, thank you for what you do. Thank you. All right, that concludes our proclamations for the day. We have a couple presentations to make. First one is the Flagler County Fire Rescue Life Savings Award.
Motion.
Ooh, I can't do that.
I make a motion.
Motion to approve item 4B5, Fire Prevention Week.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to move the Fire Prevention Week, October 7th through 13th, 2023. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. Hearing none, the motion passes. Now, first presentation is Flagler County Fire Rescue Life Savings Award. Chief Tucker.
Good morning again, Mr. Chair and members
morning.
of the commission. This is a pretty unique opportunity, and we're pretty proud of the work of our staff, obviously. And to answer your answer, Commissioner O'Brien, yes, we still have people in the field, that are serving us. The awards for firefighters and paramedics, it's not something that's easy to get them to even come out, because this is something they do day in and day out. We willingly do this, and the extra accolades sometimes are a little bit overwhelming. So most of the time when I mention something about giving somebody an award, they scatter. Like when you flip the lights on and cockroaches leave the room. So I'm not saying they're cockroaches, but careful my analogies there. But again, we've got 11 individuals over the past couple of months who have done some pretty unique things. And so we just want to take this opportunity to recognize them, to present them to you so that we can show you and the community, the exceptional work, that they do. So I've got a couple of awards. I'm going to read the quick narratives. In our system, any firefighter can nominate, another individual for an award. And then it comes to myself and Chief Sales and a committee that we have to review them. So these awards were brought to our attention because of a coworker who recognized the work, or a supervisor who recognized their work and thought it was worth recognizing. So the very first one I want to do is for Xavier Awe and Kyle Lockwood, and this involved a cardiac arrest in Flagler Beach. And in our system, we respond obviously with rescues, what most people know as ambulances, and we have 8 of them in our system. And they're strategic placed as much as we can throughout the county. But the reality is that we can't be everywhere all the time. So we rely upon fire engines that have paramedics on them and firefighters on them that are trained to do certain things prior to the arrival, of the rescue. It's a very coordinated effort. So this one involved Flagler Beach Fire Department as well. And we're going to take the opportunity to go over and recognize them at their commission meeting, as well. But in the meantime, we're going to do this one here. First one is Xavier Awe and Kyle Lockwood. This patient was at home, initially unconscious. Cardiac arrest occurred after the arrival of Flagler Beach Fire Department's Engine 11. They provided BLS CPR and included 3 AED shocks. Rescue 92 arrived and started advanced cardiac life support procedures. This was medications and 2 more defibrillations in the house. And for people that don't know, the defibrillation is the execution of the distribution of a shock across the heart to cause it to restart. The patient experienced a return of spontaneous circulation, which is pulses, while the patient was being transported. By the time the patient made it to Advent Health, the patient was awake and looking around and becoming more alert. Care was transferred to Advent Health, and the patient has has a positive outcome. This one actually came to us through our social media, our Facebook post, where the daughter posted a message to me indicating that they had witnessed this on a home camera, as well, and she just wanted to really, to provide her appreciation to the crew for what they did to save, her mother's life. So I want to go ahead and present Xavier Awe and Kyle Lockwood with their life-saving, awards. I think we have just Kyle Lockwood here, this morning.
Congratulations.
So the next award actually involves Dylan Cronk and Ryan Bowling. In this situation, Rescue 22 was dispatched to a motor vehicle accident. Upon arrival, the crews made access into the vehicle and found that the patient male driver was pulseless and apneic, which means he's not breathing. The scene was assessed as a motor vehicle accident caused by a medical issue. Crews quickly removed the patient from the vehicle and started CPR, administering defibrillation on the side of the road. Pulses were returned while transport was initiated. The patient came back to Station 22 to thank the crews for saving his life. And that is one of the neatest things, is when a patient returns and the family, to tell you thank you, because obviously this changed, their life and affected life. So I'd like to present Dylan Cronk and Ryan Bowling, with their awards. Our next one, you may have actually seen this one in the news. It involved 2 of our paramedics, Colin Ayer and Colin Dills, and also the crew of Engine 22 from Palm Coast Fire Department. The gentleman was at home, had been mowing his yard, and his wife witnessed the cardiac arrest and collapsed. The wife started CPR before the arrival of the fire engines. Engine 22 and Rescue 21 arrived on scene. They achieved what we call ROSC, a return of spontaneous circulation. And after arriving and started care. Post-cardiac arrest care was provided by Rescue 21, and during transport included airway control and what we prefer is a rapid sequence. It's a drug-induced intubation where they have to actually knock the patient's breathing out, and get control of that airway. And it's a pretty advanced technique. And just so you know, that's a technique I've never done because the field has changed so much that they weren't doing this procedure in the field when I became a paramedic a long time ago. So these crews are doing stuff that is amazing now, and it's just crazy. It's proven that they don't want me touching the patients anymore. But in this situation also, the family and the victim returned, to the station and thanked the crews. And again, it's just it's phenomenal to see those opportunities as well. So I would like to present Colin Aaron and Colin Dills with their life-saving award. Okay, the next award I want to present to Bo Krutoff and Thomas Cope. This involved a medical call with Rescue 62 at Thunder Gulch. An 8-year-old went into cardiac arrest, witnessed by his mother and performed CPR. Firefighters Cope and Krutoff remained calm and mitigated the airway during the cardiac arrest. The scene time was short. The patient was transported in less than 20 minutes. Multiple defibrillations were administered and continued proficient advanced cardiac life support and CPR all the way to the hospital. Hospital also continued CPR for another 30 minutes before getting the return of spontaneous circulation. Brandon O'Hare was from PCFD, which is Palm Coast Fire Department, happened to be a paramedic student on the ambulance that day and participated in this as well. and proved himself very proficient. The outcome is favorable, with the child being discharged back to the home with a promising outlook. And that is very remarkable, because a lot of times when children go into cardiac arrest, those are pretty severe cases, and the outcomes are not always positive. But the quick action by this crew, made a difference. So I would like to present Bo Krutoff and Thomas Cope, and also Kyle Napover for this award, because as I found out afterwards, Kyle Napover made the nomination. He forgot to tell us that he was involved in the case, as well. So I've actually got 3 awards on this one. And our last one is going to be presented to Christopher Ellis and Alex Patton. This one, Rescue 24, which was Alex Patton and Christopher Ellis, arrived on scene of a suspected overdose, and Narcan had already been administered. Upon contact with the patient, they found a patient that had respiratory failure and was now in cardiac arrest. Advanced life support measures and CPR were initiated. The patient remained in this situation, never went into what we call a VFib, where shock was defibrillated, or it was administered. This patient's heart was continuing to beat, but there was something else going on, and the crew had to figure that one out as to why the heart was beating, but there was no blood being circulated. 2 rounds of CPR were performed while the patient continued to have an organized PEA rhythm. Vascular return of spontaneous pulses were achieved. And then, obviously, because of their quick actions and proficiency, the patient quickly resuscitated and improved, and was transported to the hospital conscious. So this is a pretty significant call. And so I want to present Christopher Ellis and Alex Patton with their life-saving awards. So, commissioners, obviously this is a big deal. These individuals made a difference in somebody else's life. There's people that are alive today because without their actions, it probably wouldn't be here. So that's a big deal. But what I find interesting, Commissioner Dance, is that 2 of these individuals are actually graduates of our Flagler Palm Coast Leadership Academy. And Flagler County Fire Department now employs 7 individuals who have graduated from that program, and 6 of those 7 now are paramedics themselves. So that program has made a difference. It's a big deal. So, commissioners, I'd like to present you with our life-saving award recipients.
Come on up here for get a picture.
Go front.
Congratulations.
Residents can rest assured they have some very highly trained and skilled fire rescue personnel on staff.
Yeah, events like that just renew your faith. I mean, it's just terrific, terrific. Well done.
Personal experience.
Yeah, yeah. Our next presentation is the Airport Quarterly Update presented by Roy Seeger, who's our airport director. Roy, come on up.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. My name is Roy Seeger. I'm the Director of Flagler Executive Airport. I respectfully ask that I don't have to give this possession right now because I don't want to follow that. I mean, that was awesome. So, anyhow, I'd like to, has been requested to give quarterly updates, so I'm here to give the quarterly update for the 4th quarter. Oh. So currently going on at the airport, we still have several projects going on. So we got the replacement of the air traffic control tower equipment. We still have couple more pieces. We're waiting to get to that to finish that one off. The majority of that project is done. The T-hangar construction, it's getting very close to being done. We're about 2 months away for that being completed. We'll show you some pictures here in a moment. Taxiway Alpha construction project is going very well. We're pretty much all done that project. Got about another month. We have to put a top lift on. I'll show you some pictures of that here in a minute on that near the T-hanger area. And then, so actually today, we start the GA Terminal Apron Expansion project today. So that starts today as well. You'll see a picture of that. And we're not going to start this project. We got the money all in place for the design of the wildlife hazard fence. Got the money in place, but we're probably not going to start that till we get all these other ones done. And we'll start that probably in a couple months. Like I said, the projects are going very well. So that's what it looked like back in June 2019, last time I was here. This is what it looks like right now. So 3 buildings. You can start to see the taxi lanes being put in. And then you see right there, that's Taxiway Alpha. That's a 5,000-foot taxiway. That project, like I said before, that project interfered with every operation of the airport. So we had to do it in 3 different phases. But that's pretty much all done except that little piece right there in front of the taxi lanes. Because we have all the construction trucks going back and forth over it still, I don't want to put the top lift on that till we get a little further along. But that's almost done. This shows the west end of Taxiway Alpha. So that's that's all completed as of actually today. I took this picture last week. So that area is all done. We did lots and lots of stormwater. There was a lot of World War II stormwater still there. That's all been replaced. So pretty much all stormwater all along that 5,000 feet was replaced. The taxi lanes are all straight now. Some of those taxi lanes come out of T-hangers, used to turn. There was big open swales. Those are all been new stormwater put in and covered up. So it's looking really good. You'll see some better pictures of that on my next presentation. And so this is the one we're starting today. This is the General Aviation Terminal Apron Project. As you see, that's where the kind of greenish area, that is the area that's going to be the new concrete ramp. And you can kind of see it's kind of superimposed in there, has a smaller, so you can see where the concrete is and how much bigger that's going to become. And then the orange part, how there is currently some asphalt there, but most of that's going to be all asphalt now. So a lot more parking area. So this will allow us, once we build the new GA terminal building, so when the jets come in, they'll be able to pull right in front of the building, pull in and out right in front of the building and drop off their passengers. So this is kind of interesting. So you all look and say, why are you showing us this picture, Roy? So this is pretty unique. So this is a British helicopter, an AW159 Wildcat. You don't see these every day. And I think it's going to be interesting, so I'll tell you why we've seen this. And I had no idea this happened. So this helicopter was flying up from Miami to NAS Jacksonville to do some training with Hitron. So they were at the airport, they got some gas, and I said, what are you guys doing here? And they go, oh, well, so we're from Britain, right? From England, and we come here every year. They send a ship over to the British Virgin Islands, and so they can do anything during the hurricane season. So if they have any problems with their islands during the hurricane season, they can help them out. So I thought that was kind of interesting, right? So unfortunately, it broke down at the airport. Oops. Yeah, I'll do that again. Yeah, it broke down, and so we had to put them up at the airport. So we put them up at the airport for a couple weeks, so they were able to get the aircraft fixed and head back up to Hitron. And I know the Navy commanders here will appreciate this, so we got a letter of appreciation. If you all don't mind, I'd like to read it. So it says, Dear Mr. Seeger, I'm writing to extend my thanks to you and your team for the hospitality and support you provided our flight crew. With your generous support providing an efficient and comfortable working environment, we were able to achieve essential maintenance on our Wildcat helicopter. Your flexibility with allowing ground runs and flying without limitations has been essential in ensuring that we are able to continue our tasking in the region. I hope that we have strengthened the bonds of our friendship between our two countries. Thank you again for your support that you have provided us, respectively, Commander Benjamin Dorrington, Commanding Officer of the HMS Dauntless. So I thought that was pretty cool. I wanted to share that with you. So as you see, as you all know, we did have FPL at the airport briefly. We started the staging for Hurricane Idalia. Good thing we didn't need it. So you can see we had a bunch of the supplies out there. We had just a handful of trucks, but that was it. Nothing compared to what we had this time last year at the airport. If you remember, this is the weekend that last time when Hurricane Ian So when we had over 1,000 vehicles at the airport and 3,000 personnel. So thank God we didn't need that again. So this right now shows our fuel sales for the fourth quarter. Actually, I'm missing 1 month. So in the 2 months, we've sold 19,571 gallons of avgas and 24,000 gallons of Jet A. That's only 2 months because it ended over the weekend, so I don't have those numbers in yet. This shows our air traffic control numbers. Again, don't have them for September yet. We actually are tracking for another record year. If we keep on the current track we have now, we'll probably end the calendar year at about 170 to 175,000 operations in a year. You can see this year, even despite all so this year's in the green. So we've had more traffic this year than we've had in the last 2 years. And then during the last quarter, we had the United Flagler. It was a joint event with City of Palm Coast, Bunnell, Flagler Beach, and Flagler County. As you all know, we had music, vendors, food trucks, and of course, fireworks. It was a great event, and we had no issues. That is it for my update. Any questions?
Commissioners?
One, how do you track the usage? Do you know what type of planes or what's the percentage of like the flight schools versus regular aviation?
No, we don't track that because what they basically track, they track the as a single engine or multi-engine aircraft. So every hour, when the controllers are talking, they actually have a clicker like you would see like a baseball umpire have, and they sit there and click it. And they do clicks, and then they report it every hour.
Does that include touch and goes?
Correct.
Yeah.
Right.
So everything?
Everything.
Yep.
Everything, yeah.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
I
Dave.
can't help it, but you're still working on the correcting the sign out in the front of the
Still working on it,
airport?
Commissioner. Yes, sir. Still working on it.
So we get the right name there. Okay.
Well, I really had to change it now, so maybe we should change it with that British helicopter there. Our identifier is FIM. Maybe we should change it to Flagler International now.
I have a quick question.
Yes,
I think
Leanne.
mine's probably directed more to Mr. Ringel, but you may be aware of it. I know our board several months ago came to the concurrent agreement that we should be implementing the airport zoning that was required into by the FDOT. So where are we on that, and where is the city of Palm Coast on implementing it as well on their side? Because it was 2016 it was due.
I do not have an update with you on
I
that.
think it's
didn't
probably
know.
an Adam question. Adam doesn't know either.
Yes, so we'll get back with you on that.
Yeah, we
and
need
see.
to, because it's been several months now, and I know that the FDOT has reached out prior to us about it, so.
I'll get back to you on that.
Thank you. Anything else, Commissioners?
Oh, Al?
Al?
If I may I ask Mr. Seeger to go back to the slide of the FP&L staging area and just hold it, and I would like you commissioners to examine it because it's going to be part of a report that I provide under county attorney reports. I want you to see the visualization of the staging. Okay? Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you, Roy.
Sir.
Now time for community outreach. This 30-minute time period has been allocated for public comment on any consent agenda item or topic not on the agenda. Each speaker will be allowed up to 3 minutes and to address the commission. Speakers should approach the podium, identify themselves, and direct comments to the chair. Community outreach is now open.
Good morning, George Mayo. As you know, I've been up here many times asking about ransomware and everything. It's nice to see the report that Matt Rivera gave, that we are attentive to it and trying to make sure nothing happens to our county here. But this past week in USA Today, I will leave this with the clerk, something similar. Matt didn't apply to it. Maybe, I'm sure he's aware of it. the city of Fort Lauderdale was in the process of building a $144 million police station, new police station for themselves. Well, somehow somebody hacked the construction company, somebody hacked the city government there, sent in a bill for $1.2 million. They were able to hack the construction company, got their letterhead, and as it says here, I believe, they not only just sent a bill to the city for add-ons, et cetera, but they applied many pieces of forms that were necessary, whether they were add-ons, additions, change orders, or whatever it was. It all looked official. The city paid the $1.2 million, but it did not go to the construction company. They found in their investigation, the construction company did not send that, but it was paid somewhere. They are now trying to recoup that money. They don't know where it went. As of this, maybe they do, but it's not in there. So that is something else we have to look at. Maybe it doesn't go through cybersecurity. We have large building projects going on for millions of dollars. What if somebody sends in a bill for $850,000 and we don't know about it and it gets paid? So I just want to make you aware of that. This could be given to the appropriate departments in our county and say, hey, wait a minute, if this comes in, it all looked official for a city as large as Fort Lauderdale to say, okay, let's pay it, and they just outright paid it. You know, I think that's something that needs looking into, to be aware of, so that we protect ourselves. Thank you very much.
Thank you, George. Next speaker. No one approach, I'll close community outreach. Commissioners, it's your chance to comment on anything on the consent items short of pulling it. Mr. Sullivan.
Yeah, just one, just to discuss 7F, which is the consideration of approval of the annual advertising Northeast Florida Regional Partnership with Florida First Coast Golf for fiscal year 23-24. It's a significant amount of money. I just thought I'd mention, coming out of the Tourist Development Council, that's a big deal, though, bringing golfers in. It's a big part of our tourist business and recreation business, and so that's what that's about. The Tourist Development Council looked at that, and we sent it on to the board for approval. So I just, since it was a pretty significant, more than the normal $5,000-$10,000 support, this is a year-long thing, and just I think it's a good thing, and it's part of our doing our job here to bring people in and spend money.
Thank you, Dave. Mr. Dance.
Yeah, on 7C, our contract with the Health Department, I just wanted to bring something to everybody's awareness. There's Section 4B, which calls for funds to be carried over, excess funds that aren't used to be carried over. And there is a pretty substantial, almost $500,000 that the Health Department has carried forward that's in the trust fund. So just wanted to acknowledge that's there, and they've been able to carry forward a significant amount of funds. That's all.
Thank you. Ms. Pennington.
No, none.
Mr. O'Brien.
On item 7E, I just was curious about how competitive that grant application process is. And it seemed like a pretty significant program or opportunity for us. I didn't know if that's, we were just shooting at, this was a real stretch for us, or something that was realistic. So I don't know if Matt wanted to address that, or, I can pull it. I didn't really want to pull it. I don't have a problem with it. I just was curious in reading the backup.
Well, yeah, Matt, come on up. This is just short of pulling it.
Yes.
Short.
Thank you, Matt Rivera, County CIO. So to clarify your question, you're curious as to how competitive the grant is?
Yeah, I'd not heard about this before, and it just was a new program to me, or a new opportunity, I guess, for us. And wonder if we're just swinging at the fences here, or this is a real possibility for us.
Well, we're hoping it's a real possibility for us. So looking at the previous awards, obviously it's open nationwide, so it is highly competitive, and they normally do get a good amount of submissions for it. But the submission that we have is very unique. From what we know, they haven't received a submission like this, or or at least no one's done anything like this before. So we think in the spirit of what the grant is, which is promoting innovation in this sector, we think that we have a really good chance since we'd be the first of its kind.
Can I have
Sure.
two more
Go
questions?
ahead.
Do you have a possible site where you would put, you don't have to say where it is, but I'm just curious if you thought through that part of the
There's
process.
been a few sites that that administration has discussed with us as possibilities. We're exploring a few others as well, but we have looked at a few potentials.
And last question, this might be for the chair too. Is it worth us discussing our application with our federal lobbyist? Where the decision's made at the U.S. Department of Transportation, I guess?
It is.
Yeah, okay.
And we did have to, we do have to disclose our lobbyists in the paperwork anyway, so if.
I think it'd be worth a call. Yeah.
Just thought about it. I mean, I don't know the transportation secretary, but, so.
Be worth a call.
Chair,
Okay,
we can-
thanks, Matt, for coming down.
Chairman.
Appreciate it. Next speaker.
Chairman, we'll take that on and contact Josh and make sure that Matt and Josh are talking
Right.
about this. So
Right.
okay.
Okay,
Thank you for your indulgence, Mr. Chair.
sure. All right. So, not too late.
Which one?
7E.
Have an E? E? Okay.
That's what we just talked about.
Yes, yeah.
All right.
Okay, commissioners, any consent items that you'd like pulled? Mr. O'Brien.
7E.
Ms. Pennington.
Sorry, 7C.
Mr. Dance.
No, sir.
Mr. Sullivan.
None.
And I have none. So I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda with the exception of 7C and 7E.
So moved.
Second?
Been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda with the exception of 7C and 7E. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, say nay. Hearing none, the motion passes. 7C, Ms. Pennington.
So to Commissioner Dance had brought up so I'd like to know more information regarding that and whether or not we would continue to fund this year if we're already holding money in reserves.
I don't see Mr. Snyder.
Do we have anybody? Hello.
Oh, we have somebody. I was
Good
looking for
morning.
Bob. I didn't see him out there.
You didn't expect.
Bob retired last week.
Oh, did he?
So I'm here representing the
Oh,
health
my God, I didn't know that.
My name is Gaetana Carroll. I'm the business manager at the health department.
Welcome.
As far as the carry forward of the cash balance, the state requires us to have 8% cash on hand at any given time every fiscal year in the event that there's something that comes up that we have to have the money for.
So is that 8% of your total budget, yearly budget? And what would that, do you know roughly what that would
About
be?
500,000.
About what you have
around-
in there now?
Yeah, within that range.
So you technically, you have to carry that.
Yes.
So that's why you hold the balance. And so we'll fund the 275 and you'll use that as what, operating expenses or?
Yes,
for
we
that.
actually fund our environmental health department that does not get any federal or state funds.
That's what we give you every year. We give you that.
Right, yeah.
Yes, 275,000.
Yep.
And
Okay.
thank you for
All
your
right, so you're
contribution.
required to have the
number.
8%. Got it.
Thank you.
No, it was intriguing.
Thank you, welcome.
Andy, have any questions?
I'm good.
You're good?
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Shocking news.
I didn't know about Bob.
No, I didn't either.
I'm
Make
good.
mo-
I'd like to make a motion, gentlemen, to approve item 7C.
Second.
A motion has been made to approve and seconded to approve item 7C. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Hearing none, the motion passes. Jorge, would you look into that retirement for us and see if we get some information on that? I didn't know Bob had retired.
We didn't know either.
I know, yeah. Okay. Okay, and Mr. O'Brien, 7E.
Well, I had my questions answered, but in deference to Mr. Mayo, that's why I pulled it. So,
Mr. Mayo, did you have questions on that?
If I read this right, this is known otherwise as a drone, if I'm correct? Or what is the system being used for? Is it specific, or you can't tell us? Or I'm just curious what this use is all about. Thank you.
Matt?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Matt Rivera, County CIO. So I'll go high level, and I have Bruno here with me. Bruno is our UAS program coordinator. For any more specific details, he can go pretty in depth. But the high level for the reason for applying for this grant, and specifically wanting to pursue the technology and development airfield, is one. There's nothing like it here, in Florida that we have. Elsewhere in the country, they have these types of airfields available, and it promotes exactly what it says, right? The development for advancements in the realm of unmanned aerial vehicles. So specifically for our uses, we're focusing on public safety and the various uses that we have for these drones. So for things like, when fire season comes around, to be able to deploy some of these unmanned aircraft out to known hotspot areas to monitor using thermal imaging, so that way we don't have to put any, fireflight up in the air or go out and manually have to, take some of our public safety guys to go out and look. So utilizing technology in this area would greatly advance our capabilities for early warning and preventative measures as well. So in addition to that application, search and rescue as well for utilizing drone technology, beach erosion, what we're utilizing now. So there's a whole host of opportunities that we would be utilizing this airfield for. In addition to that, the airfield would be utilized as a technology development hub for other municipalities, other vendors, and schools to come in and do research and development as well. So that's from a very high level perspective what we're looking for.
Thank you, Matt. Okay, George?
Thank you. That does satisfy mine, but I'm just wondering if this could get into the realm of somebody seeing a drone and saying they're being spied upon, privacy lawsuits and saying, gee, what is that doing here? Just the privacy that goes on now that's becoming more prevalent in lawsuits. Why are they watching me, et cetera, et cetera.
Just in general, I would hope this would be land that the county already owned, where we put this airfield. And just in general, what kind of acreage are we talking about for this kind of an application?
Sure. So yes, we are looking for land that we currently own, that is county owned. And as far as acreage is concerned, for the initial stage, we'd be looking at 5 to 10 acres initially, but the land that we do end up deciding on, we want to be able to have for planned growth. Because another use for this airfield is also for training and development for our first responders as well. So we want to be able to grow, expand a little bit, put some structure, some blank structures up on the property to do some practice and training on as well. So we do want to grow that now. As we move forward, we can look and identify really how much we want to put into this, how much we want to grow with it. But the initial, for the purpose of what the core of what we're looking to do, 5 to 10 acres would be sufficient.
When I read this, I kind of, in the back of my mind, I thought economic driver.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I thought when I read
Absolutely.
this. If we get this, this would be something, this would be good for the county.
The amount of support that we've heard initially from various, various vendors and educational institutions who are very interested in, utilizing this airfield for their development and operations is,
Yeah,
definitely.
good. Thank you, Matt.
Attraction. Absolutely.
It's terrific.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to approve item 7E.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve item 7E. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Hearing none, the motion passes. On to general business. Item 8A, River to Sea Transportation Planning Organization, Metropolitan Planning Area Boundary Options. Adam.
Good morning, Chair, Commissioners. Adam Engel, Growth Management. Colleen with the River to Sea TPO and I are mainly here for questions. She does have a presentation. We've got 3 map options we presented to you, and so this is all based on the 2020 census, the urbanizing area then that's come in. And so remembering the TPO boundaries are intended to capture that urbanizing area, not just the area based on the 2020 census, but that which is expected to grow within the next 20 years and become urban. And so the options you've got, one, kind of heavily based on what the 2020 census tracked for. I think the second one was the one that had kind of that anticipated urban growth. And then the third one, the entirety of the county. And there's advantages, I think, to maybe all 3 of the approaches. What we presented in the report was kind of leaning towards the inclusion of the entire county because kind of the inevitability of the next round 10 years from now having potentially those population counts that would have the entirety of the county within the TPO boundaries. We're one of 2, the Lake Sumter also being kind of similar, where Sumter's the smaller of the 2, and they have the entirety of the county in their boundary. And so that it's a little unique for us to have only that small part pulled out. One of the questions that we had that had come up before, SCRAP and SCOP funding still there. If we're still a rural community, that's still there. And so we don't see a downside to that. We would have a little bit more of our per capita dues because we'd have more per capita folks in the area, but that's very minimal. So with that kind of in mind, I'll turn it over to Colleen, and we're here for any questions.
Thank you.
Thank you, Adam. Good morning. My name is Colleen Nicklin. I'm the Executive Director for the River to Sea TPO. And over the past couple of months, we've been working through our apportionment plan and our scenarios. And Adam gave a brief introduction of what we've been looking at. And I wanted to just go through a little bit of kind of the why or some additional thoughts for consideration. We go through this every 10 years following the census. Even though the census ended in 2020, by the time the data gets released officially from the state, which was earlier this year, that kicks off our process. And so federal law and state law really dictate what we can and can't do with regards to our apportionment plan. And then we also have some policies that we've used in the past with regard to weighted voting and the structure of the weighted voting that we have. The plans must include a number of items. Most important, I think what we're going to talk about here is the boundary map, the boundary of the TPO. So I did want to move into that rather quickly here, just go through a little bit of the time frame. We're at the orange dot right now, so we're preparing our apportionment plan and our boundary map. We've already done an analysis to determine whether or not our boundaries need to change. They have to change in Flagler County at least by a bare minimum because the urban area as defined by the census grew a little bit, and we have to at a minimum cover the urban area. So there is going to be some adjustment in Flagler County. It's just a question of how much of an adjustment. So our current apportionment plan, currently we have a 19 voting membership and 6 non-voting advisors. Our voting membership is made up of 6 county representatives. We have to have a third of our membership be represented by county, and it's up to us, since we are a 2-county MPO or TPO, it's up to us to determine how to split that. So currently it's 5 Volusia County members and 1 Flagler County member, and mainly that was based on the population. The population of the unincorporated area of Flagler County in our current boundary is a lot smaller when you compare it to the population of Volusia County as a whole. So that's part of what we'll be looking at as well. We also have 12 of the largest cities based on population have a voting seat on our board. So currently, the only largest city within Flagler County that has a vote is Palm Coast. And then we have a small city alliance or rotation, which is 8 of our smallest cities based on population. They currently share a rotating vote based on every 6 months that vote rotates. So with 8 cities, you're only voting once every 4 years. So currently within Flagler County, we have the cities of Flagler Beach, Bunnell, and Beverly Beach are currently within that small city alliance. Then we also have non-voting advisors. We have a representative from Volusia as well as Flagler County School Boards. And the chairpeople of our Technical Coordinating Committee, our Citizens Advisory Committee, and our Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committees. And you had mentioned earlier in the meeting the vacancy on the CAC, but those other committees are filled by Flagler County. And then we also have our FDOT representation. And so currently our MPA boundary, our Metropolitan Planning Area boundary, includes all of Volusia County and what was considered the urbanized portion of Flagler County following the 2010 census. So what does that look like? So this is a map. The area in green represents our current planning boundary. And when you throw on top of that, overlay the 2020 census urban area. So this is the urban area, the hatched area that was defined by the 2020 census on our existing boundary. So you'll notice up in Flagler County, there's some areas where we have the hatch, but we don't have the green underneath. So at a minimum, we have to cover everything that was defined as urban by the 2020 census. So we have to make those minor adjustments. So when we talk about the map and the changes, what the statute says is we are required to encompass urban areas as defined by the census in any area that's expected to become urban within the next 20 years. So that's where the growth comes into play. So there are going to be adjustments in Flagler County. As part of this, we're also looking at our voting membership. I mentioned currently we have 19 voting members. State law allows us to go up to 25, but keep in mind we have to maintain that 1/3 voting membership by county. And then we'll also be looking at the weighted voting structure. But with regards to maps, and I know Adam had presented some maps within your packet. There's been a couple of adjustments to some of these maps. So what this map shows is the existing TPO boundary plus the 2020 census-defined urban area. So as you can see, we're picking up those kind of small hatched areas that were shown as a result of the census. When you throw in what's anticipated or what has been identified as potential growth areas to date, you've got the City of Palm Coast boundary, so that's the large green shaded area to the north. And then in the middle, you have area that was identified by the City of Bunnell, about 2,800 acres for mixed-use development that has the potential to urbanize. And in the very bottom corner, you have the Hunter's Ridge portion of that development that's in Flagler County. So when we take into account scenario 1, we add these anticipated growth, we get a map that looks kind of like this in terms of potential planning boundary for the TPO. Now what this does is it does pick up those growth areas, but it does leave some areas, if you look south of 100, over there near Old Kings Road, you've got some pockets of county that are still outside of the TPO area. You also have the entire western part of the county that's outside of potentially be outside of the TPO area. Along State Road 100, you have that Bunnell development that's on the southern end, but on the northern end, it would be outside of the TPO area. So you have these pockets that are in and pockets that are out. If you looked at it, just the urbanized area plus the potential for growth. So map 3 obviously is all of Flagler County. So bringing in the county in its entirety to the TPO planning area. Basically, we would bring the county in, and we already have the entirety of Volusia County. So this would provide consistency between what we're doing in Volusia County with what we're doing in Flagler County. It gives us the ability to look at the county in its entirety with regards to potential growth and how it affects the entire county, not just that portion that is defined as urban. Over the next year, we will be looking at developing our 2050 long-range transportation plan, which is very similar to a comprehensive plan that the county has. It's a 20-25-year look into the future. We update it every 5 years. We can only take into consideration our planning area. We can't plan, we can't spend our funds, we can't do anything outside of our planning area. So with the growth that's anticipated to occur, unless we had the county in its entirety in our planning area, we would not be able to take that into consideration. And with regard to growth, one thing to keep in mind, what this is it's showing a comparison between the 2010 census and the 2020 census. And I zoomed in here on Flagler County and what's happening, and I think it's important to point out the unincorporated area in Flagler County had a growth percent change of 32.2%. Most of that is currently outside of the TPO planning area. So that the growth that's occurring in the unincorporated area right now, we can't take into account what's happening on those roadways in that part of the county. So the other part of this apportionment is looking at the boundary map, but then also looking at the membership. So what this table presents is our current voting membership is shown in the blue on the left side. So we have the county representation that makes up a third, that's 6 seats in total, and then we list all of the cities by population and then our small city alliance. If we were to look at scenario 1 or 2, which is our minor adjustments in the TPO boundary in Flagler County, most likely we would be looking at keeping the voting membership the same. And so that's just showing a reflection of what the weight of those votes are and the membership. But if we were to look at expanding to cover all of Flagler County, we would look at bringing in another Flagler County seat on the TPO board, so that would increase that to 7 seats in total. And then we would be able to add another seat and still maintain that 1/3 ratio. So what is being proposed is to split that small city alliance that currently has 8 members into a Volusia County Small City Alliance and a Flagler County Small City Alliance. Still keep that rotating vote, but now instead of sharing it amongst 8, you're sharing it amongst 4 or 5, depending on which county you're in. So that would rotate. And then in the far right column, we've also had discussions about removing the weighted votes on the seats. So that if we remove the weighted vote and we had 21 members, each vote would carry the same weight of 4.76% across the TPO. So this just shows the comparison between what, if it was maintained at a weighted vote versus the unweighted votes. Some of the discussion with regards to the weighted vote is the impacts on a city and their transportation network don't necessarily compute to what the population is of that particular city. So for instance, Flagler Beach. Flagler Beach is a very small beach community, yet they receive a lot of traffic that comes in to enjoy the beach, so they have impacts on their road network that far exceed what their population are. In Volusia County, it's very similar what happens in New Smyrna Beach. The influx of population there far exceeds, on a weekend, far exceeds what the population is on a day-to-day. So those were the discussions at the TPO board with regards to potentially removing that weighted vote. So just last slide, just want to talk about our next steps. We're currently looking at drafting our apportionment plan documentation. We are required to submit this to the state by November 14th, which means later this month. Our board meets on October 25th. They will be taking action. Following that, it gets reviewed by the state, then it goes to the governor. Sometime next springish, late spring, potentially, that'll be approved. And then we'll need to update our legal documents. Currently, we have an interlocal agreement. Flagler County is party to that currently, but we would need to update that, update our bylaws. And then all of our core documents, we would need to, any new document that we're moving into, our transportation improvement program, we do that every year. Our list of priority projects, we do that every year. We need to start incorporating any new projects that are as a result of the boundary. Our next long-range transportation plan, we would need to incorporate new boundary. Some of these documents may require amendments to make sure that projects that are currently in the process and currently funded in the work program continue on. And that would just be an administrative amendment at the TPO board level. So if there's any questions with regards to any of the scenarios or any of the processes that we're going through or how it potentially applies to the county, I'd be happy to address those.
The way I read this, we don't approve this today. You want us to give our guidance, basically.
Correct.
Which one we think is the right way to go.
Correct. Whether or not you are in support of just maintaining the urban area or potentially expanding to cover the entire county.
Does Volusia County think this is a good thing for us to do, or do we care?
So we did have a board meeting last week. Commissioner Dance does sit on the TPO board, and there was a directive provided by the TPO board to look at developing documentation to go countywide in Flagler County as well.
Question, Ms. Sullivan.
Yeah, I defer to Commissioner Dance, for the details right now, but a little of my past experience with the TPO. Remember that the Northeast Florida Regional Council, which we participate in, is 7 counties. Of those 7 counties, 6 of them are in the Jacksonville area, TPO. So it puts us as a little, we're always kind of betwixt and between when it comes to the county on certain things. This is a classic example of it, but based on everything I've heard, the always problem is Volusia's a much bigger county than we are, and they get more votes. So the question is, will this help in the long run for Flagler County, ensuring we've got a place at the table and get treated fairly when it comes to allocation of whatever, funds and whatever. So I guess I would ask Adam and anybody on our staff, I would say, yeah, we probably ought to do this, but will we be better off under this apportionment than we are now?
The short answer from my standpoint at reviewing it is that we still have all of the things that we have available to us already as part of the being a small rural county. But then we have the advantage then of I think the forward-looking, the ability to have more tools in the toolbox. I think from the planner's standpoint is what I would say is that we have some other obligations. We'll have to start paying attention more on that annual planning. As Colleen mentioned, that we're going to be then in that cycle of review that the TPO will have, where we'll have to have those projects come forward, have them queued up for TPO inclusion.
Right.
But that's something that I don't think is particularly unusual. I think we're probably doing that already. We're just not including it where it's moving forward for a vote. The one disadvantage, we did talk about this internally, it does have that potential where we are competing for a finite pot of funds.
Right.
And so that it does have that ability for someone, again in Volusia, potentially to come back and say, well, that project's not going to be funded this time. And so that it affects those that are running through the TPO funding stream, though. And so there's still some county monies, DOT monies that come directly to Flagler County that aren't affected by this. I think overall they're tracked. They're still something that is part of a transportation improvement, but they're not something that runs through the TPO board necessarily. So that I'm not seeing a downside on this. And I do think it's kind of the inevitability of what will happen. I think if it's planned now, we talked about 20 years.
We get a little more
I believe
A
so.
little more boating capability, but we're still, I mean, if it came down to votes, I mean, and there's an issue, we're going to lose the vote.
I think what appealed to me is what Colleen had mentioned was that, you've got that ability then as part of their 2050 planning to include the entirety of the county in that. And that ties in well with what I think we're doing in the comp plan. We're talking about making it to a 2050 plan. And I think it's really impossible for us to sit there and say, there's a boundary that's here and everything stops at that boundary. I don't know why it wouldn't include the entirety of the county, so.
Okay.
If I may just add to that, the TPO does have a process where we receive applications from our member governments, and we have criteria that we rank these projects on. So all projects are ranked on the same set of criteria. 10 years ago when we went through this, Palm Coast was coming in, and Palm Coast had a number of projects that they had on their list that we worked into our existing priority list that we had going through. So we were able to bring those projects in based on the same criteria. Everything is ranked by. And one thing about the TPO is it's a representation of every municipality within Flagler County and Volusia County coming together for a regional transportation. And I think from the regional perspective or the regional standpoint, the discussions on the TPO board, sometimes it is a West Volusia project. Sometimes it's an East Volusia project. Sometimes it's a Flagler project. But we try to find that balance across the TPO board, and I feel like we've been successful at doing that.
Mr. Dance.
And in actuality, right, the TPO is only effective if we take advantage of it.
Correct.
So we, having another seat at the table, I think the smaller cities were very receptive on the bigger plan of having a shorter rotation. So with Flagler having small cities broken into 4 of them, they get a seat at the table more quickly.
Yeah, so you may have noticed on the table Marineland, and their population from the census is 12. They were not in our planning, or they're not in our current planning area. Because the urbanized area expanded to Marineland, we have to include them regardless of whether we go countywide. It is at their discretion whether they want to participate in the TPO process. They indicated that they do. So that's why they're included in those tables. And the other thing I want to point out is we are not required to have any municipality participate in the TPO process that's below 50,000 population. So most of the cities within our planning area don't meet that threshold. But we took a stance many years ago when we were developing the membership for the TPO and included all of the cities. And that's where that small city alliance came in. But by law, by statute, we're not required to have a city that does not meet that threshold. So currently, I believe there's only 4 cities that would meet that threshold. And there's a lot of MPOs or TPOs throughout the state, that do follow that. Metroplan Orlando was one. No, Metroplan Orlando is a very different TPO than we are. But we try to include all of the cities at the table with the TPO, even when the rotating vote. So even if you don't have the vote, you're still able to participate fully in the discussion and the comments, during that. So we look at the impacts to all of the cities, regardless of whether they're the smallest city or the largest city.
Thank you.
And
Andy?
you didn't bring Volusia County's map, did you? And the only point I wanted to show is that really Volusia County is no different than us because their urbanized areas are separated by huge swaths of unincorporated
Right.
county as well.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
and they're the entire county. And, the roads don't know boundaries. They go between urbanized and unincorporated. And even on I think the second map, if you go back to the smaller or the expansion of the urbanized area, not the full county, but our expansion, you'll see gaps. South Old Kings Road, for example, we had a large conversation about Old Kings Road, but they don't include Eagle Lakes, Wexford, or Radiance aren't shown on here, and they're part of the 2020. They expanded over the next 20 years. Those are developments now and in the future.
John Anderson also, they leave out.
So this doesn't, I don't think, cover a lot. I mean, Daytona North is an urbanized area. In my mind, it's a small city that's not a city. And I think the county, I think it's time, and I think the board, my interpretation of the conversation at the board meetings is that everybody's come to the realization that it's time, and I know our small cities appreciate the smaller rotation if we expand and we expand the seats.
Commissioners, anything else? So I guess I don't need a vote on this, but I think I need a consensus on which one, and I think that option 3 is what we should do. Do you have any comment? Do you agree?
I agree.
Agree.
Agree?
Yeah, when I read the documentation, it became very
Yeah,
obvious
very
that that
obvious
would be
to me.
the path to pursue. Yeah.
Is that what you need?
That's what I need.
You
Thank
got
you
it.
very much.
Sure.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for the presentation.
Good presentation, thank you. County Administrator.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. I would like to take this opportunity to provide an update on the Moody Boat Ramp work since we've had a few inquiries. Our General Services Department has reached out to a few contractors, and they have not received a response. Given the lack of response and the importance of this dock for Flagler County residents, Mr. Dixon, our General Service Director, plans to perform this work in-house, and we expect to start the work during the first week of November with an estimated completion date of early January.
That's Betty Steflik Park, right? That's what we're talking about?
Yeah.
Yep, okay. Great.
Next item is our Coast to Country 4th edition magazine is out. It can be accessed through our county website. I would like to thank Julie Murphy, Carlos Hernandez, and Holly Albanese for working on this on the county magazine. I invite you to go to our website and take a look at it, as well as our residents. The next item is Flagler County Emergency Management Department received word on Wednesday, September 27, that it has earned its accreditation through the Emergency Management Accreditation Program, along with dozens of other agencies across the country. They were evaluated on 66 criteria. I would like to invite Director of Emergency Management, Jonathan Lord, to provide the board a brief update on this important accomplishment for Flagler County. After Jonathan's update, that concludes my report.
Thank you, Jorge. Jonathan. Congratulations, by the way. It's very nice.
Good job.
Commissioners, good morning. Jonathan Lord, Emergency Management Director. So as Jorge mentioned, I got a phone call I think it was Wednesday night, to advise me that we'd received accreditation. This has been a process that I've kind of wanted us to do since I got here almost 6 years ago now. However, we've had hurricanes and COVIDs and things like that. So it kept going to the bottom of the list because our job's to take care of the county first, right? So it kind of kept going to the bottom of the list. But we kept working towards this anyway because as we updated plans, we were updating them in the manner that met this national standard. And just to rewind a little bit, so this is technically it's an international standard. It's really it's 90% US, but about 10% a couple other places around the world. There's only about a dozen counties in Florida that have this accreditation. I had the privilege of going through this, getting our accreditation when I worked in Miami-Dade 15 years ago or so, give or take. And even there, where I had a team of 26 employees in emergency management, which seems like a lot, but when you think about the size of Miami-Dade, percentage-wise, it really is not a lot. But even with 26 employees, we only got conditional accreditation. And honestly, that's what I was expecting that we would get. And conditional means you've met the majority of the criteria, but here are some areas to work on. And that would have been great. I would be totally happy with that. But when we found out they were actually going to give us full accreditation, I was beyond ecstatic. It's the amazing work of not just the 4 staff that I have. We've got 20 some odd active volunteers, but it's the entire program. It's all of your county departments. It's all of our municipalities and a couple nonprofit groups we work with are really the program. That's the entirety of the emergency management program, and that's who got accredited, was the emergency management program for Flagler County. So while we are kind of the ones that steer the ship, it's really all of these other pieces. About 2 months ago at this point, they actually came and spent a week with us So we submitted a whole lot of stuff over the last year or so as we had time for them to view virtually, but then they spent a week with us and we had to kind of prove what we put in paper is really what we do. They actually interviewed folks from a couple other departments and to validate that it wasn't just Jonathan or my team making up something saying this, of course we do this. So they actually dug into that. And then even after that, they had further questions of something they saw saying, well, we want more proof to that. So we had to link up some other pieces. So it was quite a grueling process. It's typically quite an expensive process. It's about a $35,000 process, but we were able to get 2 grants, one for the theoretical equivalent of about 32 grand that went from FEMA directly to the accrediting body, so it didn't actually have to pass through us. We just had to say, yes, we're willing to get someone else to pay our bills, of course. We're always willing for somebody, especially when it's the federal government, get some of our taxpayers' money back for our county. And then the last bit that we had to do was the final fee, which was $3,500. That was initially going to come out of our budget, but the state provided a grant to cover $3,500. You all approved it last month. It seems like a silly small amount. So our actual initial accreditation that would have technically cost us $35,000 is costing our local taxpayers and you all absolutely nothing. I can't commit to that nothing in the future, but that's the big lift and the heavy lift is the upfront cost of getting the initial accreditation. So I am super proud of our entire emergency management team, program, volunteers, every other county department, and all of your continuing support of our program. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Jonathan.
Great news.
Good report.
Congratulations.
Good report. County Attorney.
Yes, I don't have anything exciting to tell you, but I have some things that I need to tell you. So we have 2 cases that are moving, and I wanted to tell you about where they each are. We have the litigation involving the tenant at the airport. The Penn and Pilot, I believe, is the name of the entity that rents one of the hangars. I think you all are aware of that case. You've been briefed on it before by memoranda. We were compelled to go to mediation to try to resolve the case. The mediation is confidential. The only thing I can tell you is that it failed. In other words, there was no successful result. I can't tell you what happened during the mediation. That's a court rule. But because the mediation failed, now we are set for trial October 16th, so very, very soon, 2 weeks. This is a case where, as I think you may know, but just to refresh you on these facts, during Hurricane Ian, there was a lot of flooding, as you know, all across, and a big emergency organized effort in Daytona Beach had to relocate to Flagler. So we became a very large regional staging area, and that's why I asked Mr. Seeger to focus you on the site of the staging. I mean, there were more specialized trucks than you could count. There was dormitory housing. I'm not sure of the exact number, a very large number, 1,000? So very significant housing, showering facilities, specialized equipment. They literally, what's the right word? I don't mean it in a negative way. They commandeered the airport. Now, I've never been a part of an operation like this, so I can't even begin to understand it. But those of you who have had military experience know that these deployments are very significant, and coordination and management of them is a logistical challenge, if not a nightmare. I think I can say that fairly. So what we had was this individual wanted during this time to be able to taxi down the runway and take off. It was during a state of declared emergency. And it's very obvious, even if there wasn't a piece of paper that said there's a declared emergency, it would have been very obvious, even to the most casual observer, that the airport, and this is my word, I don't know if I guess I'm using a word that I learned from movies, okay, commandeered. The airport was clearly commandeered. Now, I want to tell you that I asked Mr. Seeger, well, how many planes are there in hangars and tie downs? How many planes are that might have been burdened, shall we say, by this staging area? 100, about 100. And there was only one pilot who decided to breach the control that we were attempting to keep in order to enable the FP&L trucks to get out there and bring power back to everybody, not just here in Flagler, but across the region. And so that was the reason that although we didn't have to have a layout, let me start there. It's an executive decision about who we have at the airport. And I remember, Ms. Pennington, I want to recall for you the comments you made about we need to have very strong lease agreements in favor of the county. Well, because of past problems, we revised the master lease a good many years ago, which I did. That was in the 90s, where we said that the airport director, the county, could terminate a lease for no cause. And the pilot, the owner of the plane, could terminate their lease for no cause. For no cause. Here, the motivation to terminate this lease was the action taken to interfere with the staging operation during a declared emergency. And it was the only plane that did it. Now, I want to say, well, so why are we having to go through this litigation? And this is the practical factor that we have to overcome. If this person's going to lose his spot, and that means that to come back on the airport, they got to go to the back of the line of all the people. I don't even know how many people are on the waiting list. You know, you hear about it all the time when Mr. Seeger comes in and asks for grants. And I'm sure that the case is very similar in Ormond Beach and nearby, and the Putnam County field. So it is big stakes for the person that's litigating, but it's also big stakes for the county, and that's why I'm giving this report to you. It's very important that our executive authority, and I mean by executive, I don't mean like presidential, but our authority as a government to be able to operate our airport without having to go through a lot of hoops when it's very important. So I wanted to tell you about that case so that you understood its significance. Although it's just, if you look at it from one perspective, well, it's just an eviction action and the owing of double rent. So those in and of themselves are very minor. But when you put it in this context of who has the prerogative to govern the airport, it is very important. So that's for that case. And of course, if you want to ask questions anytime, please, you can interrupt me. The second case is it's as significant a case because it goes to prerogative. And that is the case involving Captain's Barbecue. You know, that's a case of longstanding, stemming from facts that were originally came about in 2018. You know, after Hurricane Matthew and whatever, we had the belief, it was the belief that was shared by the then county administrator and the owners of Captain's, that the facility there was in danger of imminent collapse. I want to remind you that as county attorney, I was shown a photograph. I've mentioned this before, but I want to bring it back into focus. I was shown a photograph where a toilet had collapsed, and fortunately, in the public bathroom. And I was obviously alarmed, and I was very heartened that there was nobody in the bathroom at the time. And so it raised a lot of concerns about, the durability, the potential danger of continuing to operate in that facility. And that was, as those of you serving on the commission at that time remember, that was the entirety of the predicate for that lease that was presented in 2018. Now, there were people saying, no, the place is not ready to collapse. And it was a very controversial issue, but it was accepted as far as that document at that time. I believe it was in November 2018. And the commission, it was voted and approved. I think it was on the consent agenda. It was pulled off the consent agenda, and it got voted in, much to a great bit of public objection to it. And I don't need to go into the reasons for the public objection. I think you know that because of its potential adverse impact on the historical archaeological pavilion, the potential loss of trees, things of that sort. Increased amount of retail traffic to the site in competition with public use of the park. So because there were those questions about whether the facility could withstand continued use. I mean, we had retired engineers, or maybe they weren't retired, but engineers that resided in the hammock that had made their own sort of investigation. You know, you can just walk up to the building and crawl under it and look at it. I did that myself when all this was going on, to make some kind of judgment about the durability of the building. And their views were like 180 degrees from our own. When Mr. Cameron became county administrator, that was in February 2019. And of course, he ran into this, full on, and he said, well, let's get out there and do a proper inspection. And what had hindered the inspections, and I don't know if you remember this, but what had, for those of you that were here and actively engaged, the previous inspections did not involve destructive testing. In other words, they were just simply looking, probing. There wasn't any removal of any of the structural members or non-structural members so that the durability of the building could actually be assessed. So Mr. Cameron authorized what's called destructive testing. And out of that came the conclusion, no, the building is durable. So this presents us with a very significant change. Because here it is now, 2018, 5 years, what was that? 5 years have passed, or somewhere close to that. 5 years have passed, and that building continues to function without any compromise whatsoever. There hasn't been a single incident where we've had to go out and structurally, prop up the building. There have been no toilets that have fallen through. There hasn't been that issue. So that's a very dramatic change. So that's all a prelude to this. We have a change in the judge. The judge wants us to go back to mediation. We did oppose it and say, not oppose it as a matter of principle, but as a matter of fact, saying, look, we spent a lot of time attempting to mediate this. And Mr. Sullivan, you were part of that, Mr. Hanson, Mr. O'Brien. I mean, we spent, I believe, a couple of months. We had two mediation sessions with the same professional mediator, and we brought proposals. We had a mediation executive session, a closed session to figure out what to do. And then we continued to have that dialogue with captains, but unfortunately we could not solve the problem. We could not come to an amicable resolution. The primary pivot point was they wanted to build a new facility, and our position was, well, the building is holding up. We're abiding by our end of the lease. There's not a need for a new building. Now, there was a transaction cost for the owners of captains, and that is, well, they'd spent all this money figuring out how to design and build a new building. And we said, look, we understand that. We'll reimburse you 100% for everything you spent, but the public does not want a new building there if it's not necessary. and that was the prevailing view, at least of the public. I'm not going to say what your view was, because those votes were taken. The bottom line was we could not come to a conclusion. So the court, even though we said, look, we really made a solid go of it, and to have another mediation is expensive. You know, we have to hire an outside sort of quasi-judge, if you will, to sit down and listen to the whole case, plus you have the attorney time. So it is not an insignificant expense. The court has ordered it, and we're going to obviously respect it. We're not going to question the court's wisdom that we should engage in the mediation. What the judge is trying to do is to avoid a very complex trial. Remember, we have cross-claims. There was somebody injured there, and we ended up having to bear about, I don't remember now, don't quote me, $130,000, $170,000. It's stated in the documents where they have to indemnify us. Now, they're saying, you know, they lost money because of what they expected, and are those two amounts going to even out? I don't know. Assuming that each side wins. I don't know. You don't know. Judge doesn't know. So it is better if we can to try to settle it. So we're going to enter into this with an open mind, even having told you of all the travails that we went through in 2020. And those travails are yours, are going to be yours too. So that's why I'm mentioning that. Now, in order to facilitate that process, because we don't know, I mean, a lot of things have changed. We don't know what direction the board might want to go. So we, as you know, we have formally asked you to submit, once again, to what's popularly called a shade meeting. And what that means is an executive session. And it's which is permitted by the Sunshine Law. And we are asking for this. It is us, we the attorneys. We're the only ones that can trigger a shade meeting, by the way. I don't know if you're aware of that. It is when your lawyers need input from you so that we know how to conduct ourselves at the mediation. If I had to go into a mediation tomorrow, I'm not sure what we would do. Because so much time, and it's a dynamic situation, we don't know what your view is. And plus, we have 2 new commissioners, so that's another factor that enters into that. Even if all of you were the same as 2020, we would, in the year 2020, we would still ask for that. I want to make sure, I know 4 of you have been in shade meetings before. Ms. Pennington, you have not been. It's a very unusual procedure. It is very strictly controlled by statute. Any violation of the statute automatically voids and opens up those proceedings, which is a huge liability exposure, because all of our conversations in confidence about the case will be completely exposed to the public, to anyone, to the adversaries. I say that because we are going to be very strict. Those of you who may recall how we did this before, I stated to you in a memorandum, I may interrupt you while you're speaking because you may be getting ready to say something that would violate the statute. We can only discuss 2 topics, and that's it. Settlement negotiations and controlling litigation expenses, and that's it. If we stray outside of that, we have violated the statute, and it completely vitiates, completely undoes what we have attempted through our shade meeting. What are other restrictions? The clerk, our clerk, is not allowed to attend. Now, we are required to have a court reporter, and that court reporter will take down every word, and when the case is all over, after all appeals are done, it's available for the public to look at. It will be a public record, but it will not be exposed until the whole case is gone, so that what we do during the mediation doesn't prejudice our legal position. Another example, Mr. Salinas, a trusted administrator, he is not permitted to attend. The only people that can attend are you, myself, Mr. Moylan, our outside attorney, and the court reporter, and Miss Heidi Petito, and that's it. So we've set that for October 9th. You'll be getting materials from us. There'll be wonderful reading materials, of course, but I, unfortunately, despite my recognition that really they're not wonderful, honestly, you're going to have to read them, and you're going to have to absorb it because we've got a very important thing to do, and we have to do it under very strict rules. This is all in preparation for an October 27th mediation. That is when we go to mediation. So we're doing our prep for that mediation. We cannot make a decision. Here you are thinking, oh my gosh, we've got this heady responsibility. You are not allowed to make a conclusion in the shade meeting. The way it works, you can say, well, how can we do that? No, there's no consensus. You can't even look at each other and say, do we have a consensus? You cannot do that. What we have to do as lawyers is to listen to each of your views. And somehow we have to ordain what might be a good outcome based on that. So I wanted to tell you that because it's my opportunity. We're going to be together on this a week from now. So now you've had sort of like the introduction, okay? I've done my introduction in advance, and none of this, of what I've said, is confidential. But what happens at our mediation, what happens in our shade meeting and our mediation, both are very confidential by law. Okay, so I know that was very interesting and provocative, but if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you, Al. Any questions?
I have questions, but I think I'll wait.
Yeah.
What's that?
I said I have questions, but I'm going to wait for the shade meeting.
Okay, that's good.
That's good.
That's fine.
Good answer.
You can ask a lot of questions during the shade meeting about the settlement proposals and the litigation expenses.
That it?
That's it. Thank you.
Okay. Next up is community outreach. This 30-minute time period has been allocated for public comment on items that are not on the agenda. Each speaker will be allowed up to 3 minutes to address the commission. Speakers should approach the podium, identify themselves, and direct comments to the chair. Podium is now open. Seeing no one approach, I'll close public comment. Commissioners, any reports or action that we need to take? Mr. O'Brien.
None from me, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Ms. Pennington.
I've been advised Mr. Dixon's out in the Mondex in the west today. I had a lot of messages from people stranded on the roads because of the water. They couldn't get out in the unincorporated, so I think that's correct, Mr. Salinas.
That is correct.
And then second, I'm speaking tonight for the Cattlemen's Association, so I'll be
Good.
dusting off my boots. And third, I would like to, Mr. Salinas, try to get some sort of idea or to implement the airport zoning on our end sometime in my lifetime. An idea when that'll be occurring. I know that Adam's working on it, but it's our airport zoning
Oh, airport zoning,
for
okay.
the FDOT.
Yeah.
Thank you. Mr. Dance.
Sure, just a couple of quick things. Wanted to recognize Mr. Hadid for his op-ed. It was a great, it's already been up out on the web, but it was entertaining and educational at the same time. So thank you for that history lesson. And thank Chief Tucker for the recognizing the Fire Academy and that we've got some great students coming out of there and award-winning, life-saving students that are participating in our fire rescue department now. And speaking of Chief Tucker, he is in need of our assistance. This weekend is the chili cook-off at Creekside, and so that all of the expenses don't fall on the fire department. If you had some additional funds to give to Chief to buy all the material that goes into the chili, that would be helpful. And here, it's an awesome recipe this time, so make sure that we definitely need to win this time, because the noise from the other side's getting deafening. That's all I got. Thank you.
Mr. Sullivan.
Yeah, just one thing. I wanted to thank the staff, Holly and Mr. Dixon especially, for the grand opening of the pedestrian bridge on 100. We had a nice ceremony for that, for those of you who were there. And I think people are beginning to understand it's a good thing and will be helpful for, in addition to everything else, coordination between Palm Coast and the county. It kind of ties us together. So I was happy that those who were there, and I would recommend to anybody who has not been actually up on the bridge to get up and see what it looks like. It's really an impressive structure, and I think it'll be something that's well used into the future. And the other question I have is the Flagler County Cultural Council, FC3. You hear it, and Leanne is just as much aware of this as I am, and maybe more. But we want to make sure that we increase the membership there. It's making a lot of progress. We're out of the administrative part of getting it going and working, and now we're actually going to be doing things. So if you don't have a membership in the FC3, any of you who are especially on the council or any of you in the audience or within sound of my voice, this is the time to join. There'll be a lot of events coming up, and it's going to be a real solid thing that was in our strategic plan for a long time to start to pull that together overall in the county. So I want to thank our Tourist Development Council, especially Deborah Naughton, who's done a lot of work in getting that set up. So now we're financed, and we want to increase our membership. That's it.
Thank you. Anything else, commissioners? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
We're adjourned. Thank you all. Good meeting.